Welcome to PACKOLUTION. In this podcast series, you'll hear the experts of the packaging industry talking about sustainability and the future of packaging. It is brought to you by Vatron and hosted by one of its founders, Michaela Wachtel, and Sales Director Ton Kniepscher.
Welcome to another episode of PACKOLUTION, the disruptive podcast brought to you by Vatron. Today we have Mark van der Burgt, Chief Commercial Officer at Vetipak, as our guest, with whom we'll be talking about the experiences and hurdles of co-packing companies. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
So to stay in the tradition of our previous episodes, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your career path?
Well, as you said, my name is Mark van der Burgt. I'm 52 years old, living in the Netherlands, and married and a father of 3 lovely kids, young kids. If you want to know a little bit about my study, I studied on biochemical laboratory study, then followed to become a technical environmental science engineer. And that followed on by my business education at Nyenrode in the study of general management. Then I start working, so my career. But during my career, I studied at Harvard some courses. I did personal leadership development, an executive course in retail management, changing the game. And this year I finished my study commissarisopleiding and toezichthouder, so to become a member of an advisory of a supervision board. I was kind of a diesel. It took a while, but it was changing a lot, and I think it's important to keep studying. And I started at ISS, a service company from the Scandix, then worked at KLM, moved to Intel, and then moved to my first family company, Vogels, in audio and visual support, based in the Netherlands, and then from 2008, I started working at Vetipak, as you know, family-based company. And I'm a member of the board driving the commercial agenda. So that means sales, marketing, business development, and since last year also looking into merger and acquisitions. So that's a bit in Mark in a nutshell.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So you're working at Vetipak. Vetipak is a co-packer. Most consumers will not know what this exactly means. Can you give our listeners a rough overview of what Vetipak does?
Of course, I will do. Vetipak, a co-packer, or I'm more in a favor of called a contract manufacturer. We started as a co-packer, but we evolved into a contract manufacturer over the last 25 years. So a co-packer of a contract manufacturer, to explain it in a simple way, we pack bulk goods into consumer packaging, consumer units. The traditional way of co-packing of a contract manufacturer is that we receive bulk goods, we receive all packaging materials, and we add labor, people, and technology, the packaging lines. To be honest, we have left this model already since 2010, because at Vetipak, we are already much deep in the service model. In other words, in the supply chain, and by co-developing the packages with our customer, we arrange the full back end by managing the stream of all the packaging materials. And in even some cases, we buy even the bulk products, the bulk goods out of their manufacturing plant. And then we convert everything into a consumer pack. So with the sweets or the food products or the cosmetics, including the packaging, and then put it, let's say, at our docks, ready to forward it in the supply chain to their retailers, the e-commerce partners or the wholesale partners. The packaging solutions we offer, it's really a variation, as we call commodity type of solutions, where we share, for example, on a packaging line with 2 or up to 10 different customers, like trans wrapping, standing pouches, flow packs, cup lines. But I think how we differentiate as Vetipak in the market, and we building customer-centric production solution or packaging solution. I think a very famous one is the Celebration Mars champagne bottle. I think most of you know them when you're in the shop or at the petrol station or at the airports. That's a very famous one. It's based on our IP, which we did in 2005, 2006. This year, we launched 2 other new lines, packaging lines for Mars, to introduce 2 new products, the Pop and the Flip. That's based on our robot technology. And to give an example in another segment, in the personal care area, I'm not sure if you entered already the Ritual store with the new gift sets, which were launched mid of October this year. The very popular gift sets, the really luxury rigid box, is now complementary with the origami theme, I would say. So it's a high luxury, unpack the box. And it looks really simple, but it was a hell of a job. We developed 8 robot cells to fully automate the origami of these gift sets in a high volume, because the gift sets, it's a high volume project. And to give you an idea, if we were not able to develop such a robot cell to do this origami paper around the gift set, we needed approximately 15% per cell. So do the math, it means 120 people to pack all the gift sets for rituals during the year. And in other words, if you have to calculate that, the business case would not run. So we do much more as just taking the goods and pack it. We do this in 5 different segments: confectionery, food, pet food, consumer electronics, and personal care. And to give a heads up, in 2023, we will start this type of business also in the life science and health segment, or the medical segment. We currently operate from 10 different locations in the Netherlands and opening 2 new locations in Q1, Q2 next year. One of them is for Kraft Heinz in a warehouse with an LSP partner, a logistical service provider, AG in this. And we do that, I think, over 50 different packaging lines. And in the season, we work with about 700 colleagues, converting all these nice products into real nice consumer brands. And customers like Mars, Nestlé, Mondelez, Cloetta, De Perfetti, Danone, Rituals, and private label owners and some fancy labels. So that's in a nutshell who we are.
That's extremely impressive. This ties into my next question. How high is the involvement of a co-packer in the product chain? Because time's gone by that the co-packer was just packing goods in a seal wrap that the end customer needed and converted into it.
It's a really good question, Ton. I hear you're familiar with this business. As you probably know, when I started this job, I do a kind of a gospel on specific this topic, as I believe that a co-packer or a contract manufacturer, we can add much more value as they currently use us. It's improving. I have to be honest, and I have to say, like what we do with Mars, Rituals, Nestlé, the big brands are picking up this, and other customers see the different models we provide to these brands, and we get earlier involved, earlier engaged, and build and help them building their dreams and their products and their packages.
They recognize your value.
Yeah, finally. And they trust us, and they got rid of their not invented here syndrome. But it still exists. Familiar. And I keep questioning why, because if you look in what we do, we exist 25 years, the failures we made, the brands we work, the packaging solutions we offer, the knowledge we have on all the material. Please use it, because we have many examples that we can add value, and in other words, avoid cost, or smoothen a process, or decomplexing a supply chain. So there are many different ways how we can add our value, even on the sustainability strategy of the roadmap. But I keep promoting this, as we say, involve us as early as possible, because we have a lot of knowledge on packaging, production, materials, of the combination, because it is quite complex. Packaging is a job, is a profession. Again, as I said, sometimes we still get a call, can you do this, pack this or that? Mostly too late, but of course we keep helping them. But we want to show what we can do more.
I think at the previous occasion you referred to this as early engagement, and I think that is a pretty good synopsis of what it is you do and where you want to go for. Can you enlighten us a bit about this and how this adds value to the product?
Yes, of course. As I explained already a little bit in the previous question, you need to involve your partner as early as possible. And in my opinion, just after the process of a concept design, when your artwork or your design is ready and your dreams, your demands are on the table. Involve the co-packer and start adding value. As an example, on the makeability of the pack, because the marketeers or the concept developers, they create lovely packs, but it's important that what has been designed is able to pack, to transfer that as a real product into the market, which is makeable, affordable on cost and in the full supply chain. And of course, if you talk about makeability, I literally say everything is makeable. You just put a lot of manual labor on it and time, and it goes, but you try to automate it as much as possible. Try to reduce the involvement of manual labor. You try to use the best materials, but also the materials that runs on machinery. So it's quite a complex case. And then don't forget the sustainability topic, which is hot today's. So together we can define what is the best fitted material. Also depending on the sustainability strategy or roadmap of the customer or your brand. And the next step, look into the supply chain, look on transport packaging. That would be my favorite. Look in the complete supply chain. We try to look into receive the lowest total cost of ownership and not just to a single cost of a pack. There, you need to involve as early as possible. Makeability, the uses of material, simple examples, pallet optimization. It sounds like an open door, but we still see pallets leaving within 70 or 80% occupation of a pallet. It's use of space, is use of cost, an impact on the sustainability topic. Reduction of materials, we can look into that.
Or even worse, of course, the overload of a pallet, which is damaging the goods.
Yeah, for us, it looks like really simple examples.
Yeah.
But you would be surprised if you work a day with us in the warehouse and see what is coming in and what is going out. And then there we can help and always make a joke. We make already mistakes for 25 years, or we see made mistakes and we try to solve them. So they are free of charge. Please use them.
Actually, what you just mentioned fits perfectly well to my next question, because I was about to talk about sustainability with you, but you already mentioned that, for example, pallets can be optimized. So you already answered part of the questions, which was, what about sustainability when you work as a co-packer? So obviously it is a topic for you. And the next question would be, do you have your own guidelines that you follow, or do you act purely according to your customer specifications?
Sustainability strategy we have as a Vetipak, I would like to divide it in, let's say, in two ways. Of course, we have our own responsibility towards the topic, towards sustainability. Of course, as Vetipak, as a service partner, and we have to contribute to the society. So at the long run, we have to think about how to operate in a kind of CO2 neutral way. So that is one part of the strategy and the roadmap, and we're working on that. But to be honest, as a co-packer working on packaging, I believe we can contribute a lot in the NPD cycle, the new product development cycle of our customers, of the brands. And I believe there we have even an earlier on an immediate impact on their sustainability strategy or roadmap. The examples we took before, pallet optimization, the use of material, the type of material. Yeah, it's quite a complex topic to have the best solution. And do we have an own strategy on that part of your question? No, there we try to follow the customer, because every customer has his own sustainability strategy. Could be in different directive, reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink. And there are many different ways how you define. Even per brand, we see different strategies. And there we attach, we extend, and we contribute. And then I come back to the added value we deliver. Okay, with that brand, with that strategy, then is this the best solution if you talk about sustainability? Could be paper, but it could be plastic, or use a much thinner material. It has the same effect. So it's actually both. I hope that answers your question in a good way.
I think it does.
One of the previous episodes, we talked to somebody from the cosmetics industry, and we also talked to people from the food industry. And we noticed that there is a different perception of, not of sustainability, but on the way they want to implement this in their packaging. Do you have different sustainability strategies for your different industry segments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there I can be really short. I have to be honest, and not really, Tom, because as I tried to explain before, is that, we need to add value to our customers. So we need to get aligned with the strategy of the customer, and that's independent of the segment, if it's food, confectionery, or let's say cosmetics or personal care. We don't differentiate, but of course there are different sustainability strategies in the segments, more or less. I'm a believer there is no one good sustainability strategy. The best solution for not the segments, but it's almost based on a single project or a single product or pack type. So depending on the primary product, the strategy of the product, the characteristics in the supply chain. There is no one good answer for within a segment or even in one way.
Because it also depends on the end market where it's going to. If it stays in the Nordic countries or it goes to southern countries, there are different impacts on what packaging you need.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or if you send a package around the world in a very humid area, you have a different outer, which sounds silly, but yeah, it's quite complex. And maybe you have followed one of our webinars on sustainability. I'm talking about sustainability jungle. I understand for consumers it's difficult, but even for us as an expert in this topic, it's still a challenge to find a good solution. But when you get the involvement, when you get the time to add your value, when you get create the time to think about what is the best in the full supply chain, and that's always a different answer.
What we did learn on one of the previous episodes when we spoke to somebody from the cosmetics industry is that even in the cosmetics industry, people are taking their responsibility now and starting to look more at sustainability and not just add more packaging because of the consumer perception. I think you will see that trend as well, I guess.
Yeah, I think we work with one, in my opinion, I'm a fan of, not because it's our customer, I was a fan before. If you see what Raymond, the CEO of Rituals, does, he really invests in sustainability. He is there to put money behind his words, because you still see a lot, and I have to be careful, but you still see a lot of annual reports where the CEO puts some nice words into that and care about the world, and then the purchaser or the developer comes at the table and it has to be more environmental friendly, it has to be this, it has to be that, but the cost has to be 50% down. Yeah, that's not workable yet, but as long as we start investing in this topic, starting investing in these new technologies, new materials, of course, the cost will improve as well.
So most of the time I'm a normal consumer, and actually I sometimes walk through the shelves and think, why is there so much packaging everywhere? And many consumers, also like me, think that secondary packaging especially has no benefit when products are packaged individually and then put once again in a large overall package. So maybe you can tell us, what are the reasons for this type of double packaging?
Well, I have to say, I understand your question, Michaela, and I think it's right. It's really an expertise. I have to promote, of course, my profession. Packaging material is a real profession, and it's there for a reason, not just to add just packaging around products and move them around. But yeah, secondary packaging, it plays a very important role. Yeah, there are many different reasons why we have secondary packaging. The most important one is that for transport protection, to avoid damages. In other words, avoid cost. If you look into the sustainability area, not avoiding cost, but avoiding damage, spillage of the product, of the primary product, of the food product, of the cosmetics or the confectionery products. In my opinion, that's one of the most important about the secondary packaging. And next to that, it has reasons there for branding, promotion, communication. There are quite a lot of reasons why there is secondary packaging. It's for protection, it's for food safety, it plays a very important role. And I agree, Michaela, if you're not into this business, I think you're not aware. Why is that so?
Okay, so what we can tell all consumers out there now is that when there is a secondary packaging, it's not because we want to produce packaging, but there is a solid reason for that. Let's say it like that.
Absolutely. And you see all kind of new initiatives to avoid packaging. I think it's brave. I'm not sure if that will be the new world within 10 or 15 years from now. I think it always stays. But the good thing is that most of the brands, if we sit around the table, one of the questions is finally now have the minimum amount of packaging needed in the solution for all the kind of different reasons why the packaging there, for safety, protection, damage, spillage. Yeah, so that's a good thing. And it's not just there because we like to add packaging. No.
Yeah, because I also think it's necessary for the producers to reduce packaging, because consumers just see the secondary packaging and say, okay, no, this is too much, I won't buy it. So actually, this is probably also a reason why the producers say, okay, we will try to use less secondary packaging, because the consumer might not see the reason why we put it there. So we might have to just avoid it, because otherwise the product's not going to be bought anymore.
I think most of the brand owners do not want to add unnecessary cost to the product. So I think if they can avoid secondary packaging, they would, because it saves them money and increases their bottom line.
Absolutely, yeah. In the amount of the material, even if you talk about packaging tax, but at the end, it's also about cost.
It's also about communicating to the consumer why this packaging is there. I think there should be a more transparent and open communication between the brand owner and the consumer why this secondary packaging is there.
Yeah, but if you touch this topic, Tom, then you touch
marketing people
another.
all over you.
I think their media plays a wrong role.
Oh yeah,
but this is a different topic. If
we can fill a complete episode on that.
Yeah, I get so mad on this plastic ocean, and of course it's not good. But I always use the example because plastic is kind of an awful word. But I think for some of the solution, plastic is a better solution than the paper solution. So I say if you throw the ocean full with the same amount of paper, the whale will die as well. And there's a different reason why that product is in the ocean and not in the bins or in the recycle process. But yeah, as I said, this is a completely different episode, but media is playing the wrong role.
I learned some time ago that 85% of ocean plastics is fishery related and not packaging related. So I think that puts a perspective on it. Yeah. And secondly, to talk about paper, a few weeks ago at an internal meeting, I saw paper straws in a flow wrap, in a plastic flow wrap. So I rest my case.
Yeah.
Talking about that, can you give us some examples of greenwashing you've encountered during your work at Vetipak?
Ooh.
Without calling names.
That is a tough one, Tom, because I have to be politically correct. No, but there are many examples. How to answer this in a proper way? I think, in the early age, when we start working on the sustainability solutions, I think the flexibles, the laminates with PE and paper, so that you have this paper look, but there were still a lot of PE in there, and that is almost gone, but you still see it. Another example, and I hope I don't step on somebody's toes, but it's the bags for the bread. You have this paper look bags, and then they have a window of plastic in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because this is still a proper example. Yeah. Another example, and that makes it really difficult for consumers and fuzzy, is the usage of all kind of logos. Can't recall them all, but this is environmentally friendly in this way, and this is good for that world, and this is
compostable and biodegradable or bio-based.
Yeah.
Even the experts don't know the difference, really.
Biodegradable also is such a nice, yes, but in a proper environment, and the environment is not in your backyard, because if you, in my opinion, and I think as a consumer, biodegradable means if you finish your product, you just throw it in your garden, and after a few months it's gone. But technology is going into that direction, but sometimes it takes a while. Unfortunately, it's happening a lot. And I understand that for consumer it's tough, even for us as experts, it's quite difficult sometimes to see, hey, is this really green or is this greenwashing? Believe me, it will decrease.
I appreciate your openness on this.
I think, to be honest, the knowledge is improving, the technology is getting better, the cost of the technology. So finally we get there, but some of the solutions needs more time to have no greenwashing examples anymore.
So our last question is also really interesting, I find. What was the most challenging customer request you have realized so far with Vetipak?
Oh, nice question. Let's use a sleazy one, and I mentioned it already. The continuous recurrent challenge is that we get these customers coming at us, and they need this, and more innovation, and more sustainable packaging, and more this, and that at the end, their cost needs to be divided by 2 and needs to be reduced by 50%. So that is a continuous spagat, continuous challenging. Aside from that, I had to mention this because sometimes you need to invest in the packaging to have at the end a good solution. But other challenges, one I mentioned, a challenge before 2006, I think was the question of the champagne bottle from Mars. The question, you never can automatically pack these champagne bottles and label them properly, fill them properly, cap them with the alu cap properly. But at the end, around 2006, we developed the first generation of that machine, and we did. That was a challenge, but we managed that.
I'm curious. So now you have the customer and he says, okay, I really want to put the sweets into the champagne bottle. So why, or let me say it like that. An option would be to say, okay, this is just not possible. But then you say, okay, the customer wants it and I'm going to try it, right? Because I would maybe try to give him another shape which is easier?
No. Please join us for another week or month in the company, because part of our DNA, Michaela, is when we try to make and it sounds a bit marketing, but we try to make the impossible possible. That's what we like, because if it's too easy, everybody can do it. And we try to do the things which are not possible. I like what we recently did was the successor of the Zoe, a product for the UK. That was a really nice pack. There is no standard technology in relation to the framework of that project. And you talk about volume and the risk to invest. But we built two different lines, one on the robot cell technology of us and the other one on the kind of automotive way, serialized robotization. And we did. But I think the last challenge was the origami. That was when Raymond, if you talk about early engagement, that was really a nice example. He said, well, Mark, we have a dream. And you know the Japanese way of packing a product as a gift, origami. I want to have that around my gift sets. And we thought, well, that's possible. But that was a huge challenge. And normally, within 12 months' time, we are able to come from a concept, a development, some engineering into a pack, 12 months, depending on delivery time of the components and the parts and robots nowadays. But this one took a bit over 2 years. That was a tough one.
Sounds really exciting, though.
Sweat and tears. Yeah, when we made it, it was operational and through the learning curve, that was a huge achievement. But again, to your remark, which is really good, that's part of our DNA. Yeah, we try to make the impossible possible. But therefore, back to previous questions, please give us the time, engage us early, not just tell the roadmap about your products, but also share your dreams, because therefore normally we need a little bit more time. I think that's a bunch of examples and challenges. But also this is evolving as technology is improving and the technologies become more usable in our solutions. I think when robots are getting faster or getting cheaper, we believe we could do almost everything via a robotized solution. But let's see. And then we have just one type of technology in the factory, robots and software.
So we've reached the end of this episode. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you missed?
I like the way how you build up the questions. It was my first podcast, so I like it to join. And I'm really thankful that you gave me the opportunity to put the co-packer or the contract manufacturer in the spotlight. Well, I think in general in this industry, sometimes we co-packers, contract manufacturers, we are too shy. Sometimes we forget to promote ourselves, to add, to show our value. Yeah, we're humble. So I think this podcast helps in a very good way to put a bit of a spotlight on what we can do more than just, as you said, give us a ring. I have this foil, I have this product, can you pack it? And it needs to be ready tomorrow. That was 50 years ago or 20 years ago.
Thank you. And as said, we'd like to talk to everybody in the supply chain, and co-packers, co-manufacturers are becoming, or always have been, but are becoming even more important in this new future, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you gave us really this opportunity, because I speak on behalf of my colleagues and my competitors, of the brands. Really thankful.
So this concludes another episode of our podcast, PACKOLUTION. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your experiences and vision with us. Very interesting for us and hopefully for our listeners. Please stay tuned in this channel for more inspiring episodes of PACKOLUTION with experts in the packaging industry.